Mike O'Neill. I just want to tell you about my first experience in Pemberton. I'd only been in British Columbia for 10 months, and I'd only worked on the east coast of Vancouver Island. And I'd never seen a logging operation in all that time. And I got a call in March of, this would be the spring of '73, that I was being posted to Pemberton. And so I said to my supervisor, "That's great." My next statement was, "Where is Pemberton?" Because I had not been off the island in those 10 months. And he said, it's told 100 miles north of Vancouver. And what it was is, I put my name in the hat for new forestry grads to be transferred out to the field districts to get field experience rather than staying in Victoria and just going out for the summer and working and come back in the office. And I had just finished a winter in the office, and that was enough for me. I wanted to get out to the field and, where the action was. So I packed up all my worldly belongings and loaded up my Datsun, 1973 Datsun 510, which I bought for a grand sum of $2,500 in January of '73. And took the ferry over to the mainland, and I drove up Highway 99, and I drove, and I drove, and I drove, and I really thought I would never get here. Because the only thing I had to compare it was with the island highway. I arrived at the ranger station, the old ranger station, on a Friday afternoon. It was probably about 3 o'clock, maybe 3:30. Jerry Krotz was the only staff member there. I introduced myself, we shook hands, and then I happened to mention that I was from Ontario, and Jerry, being from Ontario also, he jumped up and we shook hands again. So what more of a welcome could I want? And I remember vividly my first night in Pemberton. The two bachelors were staying in what we called the shack, the staff house there. Steve Armitage was the senior assistant ranger, and Brad Rushton was the dispatcher. And they invited me over to the hotel for a beer. I was staying at the hotel. The Forest Service gave me 10 days to find accommodation, and that time I was put up at the hotel. So they were going to show me the real Pemberton. Well, it was tree planting season. The Forest Service did their own planting in those days, and the crew were all from Mount Currie. And before the night was through, I think every tree planter came over to our table, and I was introduced to them. So I pretty well knew every planter that was working for the Forest Service that spring, because they all knew the Forest Service guys, and they had been working for them for the past few weeks. I found myself fighting a small fire out near Birkin with Jerry Chapman, and I was choking, and just, it was the worst job I ever seen. And again, I was saying, what did I get myself into? Talk about trial by fire, that was literally it. And then, I think that the same week, I was sent out to Railroad Creek to do a logging inspection. And so CRB were logging at the top of Railroad Creek, somewhere just below Branch 12, where the access is to Tanquil. Jimmy Decker was running an old line machine loader, and Don Wildfawn was skidding logs into the roadside. And I introduced myself, and I distinctly recall Jimmy asking me, "What do you think of this? Is the slash clean enough?" Well, I really had nothing to compare it to, so I just said, "It looks okay to me, Jim." The Pemberton Creek, there was an ice dam formed where it goes under the highway. It backed up and it flooded the brand new ranger station. This is the one where the municipal hall is now. And it flooded the basement, and of course the fire pumps were pressed into service in February. All I can remember that summer of 1973 was fighting the Mars Crossing fire, which was started by BC Rail, the August long weekend, and we fought that fire the entire month of August into about mid-September. And I really, we drove out there every day, and you know, after driving out there 6-7 days a week for a month, you just you don't ever want to drive out there again. As Don already mentioned, I realized what was going to happen is my only course of promotion was to go back or to go to the Vancouver office in the Marine building. And here I was. The reason I left Victoria was I wanted to get closer to the action, and the only place I could see myself going was, you know, to the office, you know, to be a zone forester. And I've been dealing with the zone foresters. They were basically calling the shots and, you know, telling assistant rangers like myself to shut this guy down, or, you know, write up a ticket or whatever. And I didn't want to go there, so I made the difficult decision to leave the foresters after 2 years, one season in Victoria and one in Pemberton. And it certainly was nothing to do with the personnel. I just didn't see where I would fit in as I was, you know, going up the ladder. So I left the foresters and went to work for Squamish Mills on their road crew, starting at the bottom as a swamper. And looking back on it, I certainly have no regrets. It turned out to be one adventure after another, and thoroughly enjoyed it. I'll always cherish the days that I did spend in the Forest Service. And over those 2 years, I got a glimpse into the, you know, you might have heard of the Forest Service family. I got a glimpse into that world, and it left a lasting impression on me. And I'm so thankful that to have experienced that. And so I just want to end with saying thank you very, very much to the BC Forest Service for introducing me to your family and your forests 40 years ago this summer. Thank you.